Good evening. Welcome to the February 3rd, 2025 West Clermont School Board meeting. Mr. Romano, please take roll.
Mr. Patton.
Present.
Mr. Rudy.
Present.
Mr. Chumley.
Present.
Ms. Sanborn.
Present.
Mrs. Spencer.
Present.
All present.
Thank you. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up is the motion to adopt the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion, please? Thank you, Mr. Rudy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chumley. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Rudy.
Yes.
Mr. Chumley.
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn.
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer.
Yes.
Mr. Patton.
Yes.
5 yes.
Good evening. Tonight, I have the honor of recognizing our third grade team at Willowville Elementary School. If our team members could please come up and stand right here beside us. That's good. Members of our third grade team include Nicole Hurdle, Leslie Williams, Megan Ostrander, and Ambira Robinson. The third grade team at Willowville Elementary is an exceptional team. They collaborate on a daily basis to improve student outcomes. This team analyzes data together and then plans lessons that differentiate their instruction. These daily interactions allow them to brainstorm creative ways to meet each student's needs. While the team has an intense focus on their students, they are also dedicated to supporting one another. All of this work has contributed to excellent student outcomes that is evident through their iReady growth scores in ELA and math. The third grade team is an excellent example of a team here in West Clermont.
So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit before we recognize you, because I know I can with you guys. What do you think sets you apart? What do you think that you're doing that really is making a difference, making an impact with your kids?
I feel like we just work really well as a team, and Amber is not here, but the four of us are constantly collaborating between classes in the morning, playing time.
You know, we talk a lot. Every second, every day, and just knowing the kids, we get to know on a personal level.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. I think it should go on this side, because this drops. Are you supposed to do this?
Yeah, it should, yeah.
Like this?
And then switch up my list of the doors.
Okay.
Kevin, is there anything you would add after you finish smiling?
Well, it's a dream for any principal to have a team like they are, you know, collaborating nonstop and always thinking, how are they going to adjust their instruction to meet the students' needs? You know, and they're very results and outcome focused while also being great relationship builders and are very supportive of the students. It's really the art and the science of teaching, so it's a pleasure to see them every day, and just proud of them. It's an honor to work with them.
Yeah, and I'll just add one thing. I know teaching third grade, there's a lot of pressure in third grade. There's a lot of expected out of third grade outcomes. And I see all of you, all four of you, as people who get involved beyond just your third grade. Like, you see a bigger picture and you understand that alignment between the primary and what you guys are feeding into. You see that big picture, and it really shows in what you do in the classroom and then around the classroom. So thank you for all that.
I was going to add too that their leader is at the district level also, that each of them have been involved in either courses of study
So congratulations, thank you guys. As Dan gets the video ready for WC Strong, what I want to just call to everyone's attention is, as you know, it's very important for our district to tell our story, to celebrate our staff, to make sure that we're being transparent with our community, and that we are informing everyone so that each person can have a seat at the table, have a voice, and contribute to the overall success of West Clermont. So just recently, this quarterly newsletter was sent out to everybody in our community. You can find it on our website, you can find it on social media, but you can also find it in your mailbox. And we are very proud of this. One little detail, though, that we learned today in really fine print on the back in a little gray box, it says the ballot issue is in March and not May. So throughout the article, it shows May correctly, and then there's one little gray box where it's wrong. So we are working to correct that and just make sure that we get the word out that the ballot issue is in May, not March, and we apologize for that oversight. But please take a minute to take a look inside of this, check out the QR codes, and it'll take you to stories like what we're going to share tonight with our WC Strong theme. This is the third video in the series of WC Strong, and very soon in all of your emails, you will be getting an opportunity to tell your WC Strong story. So there will be a way for students, community members, parents, families, whoever wants to contribute to see their name in lights and to represent their story of success in West Clermont. We'll be sharing those community-wide. So we are looking forward to getting all that curated and celebrated. So with that, this is another highlight from Mr. Jones, Willowville Elementary and West Clermont High School collaboration.
Welcome to today's Warrior Way podcast. I'm Marin.
I'm Avery.
I'm Richie. And I'm Emma.
On our podcast, we like to focus on leadership and the leadership skills that people use in their career.
4 fifth graders at Willowville Elementary are learning the art of podcasting, leadership, and communication skills thanks to an innovative partnership with high school teacher Brandy Calton and 2 of her high school communication interns. Here's an excerpt from their latest episode with former Bengals quarterback John Kitna.
Stephen Coughley notes the importance of the 7 habits of highly effective people. Be proactive, begin with the end in mind, put first things first, think win-win, seek first to understand, then to be understood, synergize, and sharpen the saw. How do these habits play out in the field?
Yeah, I mean, it's less of leadership in the NFL happens on the field as much as it happens off the field. Your leadership traits, the relationships you build, carry you when you get on the field. When people ask me about leadership, what do I think is most important is being who you are. You can't be someone else. People see right through that. You have to be very authentic. And then secondly, being a servant leader and trying to lift others up.
Now, let's hear from the students about their experience interviewing John Kitna.
It was really exciting, and not everybody gets to do some things like this. Even if you are famous, that doesn't mean that every part of your becoming famous was that, I guess, glamorous or I guess happy.
Well, when I was in the bus, I was very nervous and I was very jittery. But now that I've gotten done with the podcast, I now realize that it's not that bad anymore. I learned that he is a very normal person and that sometimes even the most highest people and the most famous people are still normal people.
Being part of the John Kitna episode was really fun. It was fun seeing the kids be super excited about it. They had a good time, and so did I.
This is our first group of students we've ever had come into the place, so this has been fantastic. I love their questions, and I don't know, there's something adorable about fifth graders interviewing this massive 6'5", 6'6" John. It's like, it was pretty funny to watch, but they asked great questions, and the answers we got were really fantastic, so it was a good time.
Let's take a step back and see how the podcast came to be what it is today.
So I emailed each elementary principal just saying, hey, I have a team of interns and we would like to help you. What do you want to do? And Mr. Jones replied back with he was interested in starting a podcast. And I said, awesome. I'd never done a podcast before or produced one, so it was just kind of a grassroots, just looking things up, getting some basic equipment, and it's gone really smoothly. I'm very happy with the partnership it's created, and I think that these fifth graders are gonna have such great, they're so personable, and their communication skills are just awesome for being in fifth grade. So the elementary students and the high school students, I think they get a taste of what the real working world is like. For example, the high schoolers, they kind of come and go from school. That wasn't my high school experience, but they're treated like professionals.
When I first heard about the podcast class, I was most excited to explore something new. I mean, this is something that I've never done before. And especially when I found out that I would be working with fifth graders, because that is something that I am used to. So it was kind of, mixing something old with something new, and I was really excited about it.
These fifth graders, they're responsible for sending out the Google invites and calendar invites, just like we use as adults in the working world. These fifth graders are doing that as well. I remember when Mrs. Adams was our first guest, I said, well, you're gonna have to start checking your email now. And after they sent that first calendar invite to Mrs. Adams, Richie actually, he emailed me on a Saturday. So he was checking his email after hours, and he says, oh my gosh, she said yes. He was so excited that our superintendent had responded that she would be the first guest on his podcast.
The skills I've learned so far, mostly the 7 habits, and I've been working on eye contact, so I have that easier. And also I've been trying not to be as fidgety, because usually when I'm sitting still for a while, I just have to fidget.
I enjoy mentoring these students because I think that it's something that they can use a lot in the future. Everybody knows our world is becoming more and more digital, and this class and teaching them these, like learning how to use a camera, or even just talking to people that they don't know personally, helps them with a lot of skills in the future, and I really enjoy setting them up for that.
So Mr. Jones and I have already talked about next year, and the fifth graders that we'll have next year, we're going to pull them into the fold before the end of the year this year. That way next year we can get started with having guests on the show faster, and so more episodes.
I would like the future to become more kids on this podcast, and this podcast grow more, and for other people, for it to get more views and other people to know about the 7 habits.
To me, West Clermont Strong means all the individuals, whether it's people at the main office, our administrators, our teachers, our students. We all work together to highlight all the great things that are happening in our district, whether it's in the community or within a school building. And I think the part of that strong part too is sending students out, or adults out into the world that have these strong skills that we've helped build by all of these different experiences that wouldn't be possible without everybody working together and having such a strong team, especially at the leadership level.
What West Clermont Strong means to me is all the new opportunities that there are at the school, that what other schools don't have. I think we have a lot more programs for kids to join in, have a better future. West Clermont Strong means trying your best every day. I feel like a lot of the students here push themselves to go past their limits, or what they think their limits are, to step out of their comfort zone, and it's something that I really enjoy. Connecting with all of my peers and, hearing about what they're doing academically or socially to just step out and do something new.
If you're interested and want to watch the full episode of the Warrior Way podcast with guest John Kitna, follow the QR code on your screen.
So thank you to Mrs. Golden for her creativity and pulling the team together to tell this story, and especially Abby and Riley. They dedicate every week of their life to go over and mentor these students. Riley wants to be a teacher when she grows up, and so this is a great experience for her. These fifth graders getting a podcasting experience, and fifth graders are going to expect that when they go to the middle school. They're going to be like, okay, where's the middle school podcast? They're going to want to see this as they continue in their career, and they're just a lovely group of kids that Kevin has mentored and developed, and truly with excellent teachers like Brandy Calton, stepping out of her comfort zone, going beyond the class of English that she taught to explore these career-based learning opportunities. She's been such a risk taker and such a visionary, and we're just grateful for their strength and just the opportunity to go on a field trip, to be in a real live podcast studio, to connect with partners who do this professionally is just really an amazing opportunity. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Next up, it looks like it's public speaking. It says here, visitors who wish to address the board are asked to state their name, address, and school or organization. Remarks must be addressed to the board and should be brief, 3 minutes and to the point. Speakers may offer such objectives as criticism or suggestions regarding school operation or programs. The board will not hear personal complaints of school personnel or against any person connected with the school district unless those complaints have first been addressed to the individual, department, or administrators involved. It does look like we have one guest speaker, Mr. Gleason. Listen.
Good evening, Rich Glisson, 816 Massachusetts Drive. I wanted to come here tonight. Back in October, I had sent a request to the board for information regarding the alleged cybersecurity breach, which cost the district about $1.7 million. And I've asked several times to get an update on that, and I still don't have the information. So I'm just trying to figure out when, if at all, the information might be shared. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. Yeah, personnel.
Good evening. In front of you is the personnel agenda for February 3rd, 2025. On the agenda today, we have the retirement of Lisa Hughes, fourth grade teacher at Merwin Elementary, who was here for 8 years in West Clermont. We also have Yvonne Cole, a cafe worker at West Clermont Middle School with 12 years in the district as well. We wish them the best in their next adventures. We also have the resignations of one paraprofessional aide and one cafe worker. This agenda also includes the proposed hiring of one second shift custodian. On this agenda, we have the proposed approval of supplemental contracts for multiple advisors and clubs, building leadership team members, lighthouse team members, and multiple coaches. Included in this agenda is the proposed approval for multiple unpaid leave of absences, multiple substitutes, multiple school volunteers and student teachers. In the work beyond the contract section, we have proposed approvals for payments for health clinic assistant for the high school dance and cooperating teachers. This concludes the review of the personnel agenda submission for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. This evening I am requesting approval for 2 overnight field trips, both involving high school students. The first is for the West Clermont High School Alpha group to attend the ICHSA, and in case you're wondering what that stands for, it's the International Championship of High School A Cappella group. So it is our Alpha group that is going to be competing in that competition. That field trip is scheduled to take place at the end of the month, departing Friday, February 28th, and returning the next day on Saturday. That will be taking place at Case Western Reserve in Cleveland. The second trip that we're requesting approval for is for the West Clermont High School DECA group to attend an overnight competition that is a part of the Ohio Career Development Conference that is taking place in Columbus at the Convention Center, March 11th and 12th of 2025. That concludes my presentation of the overnight field trips. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. What is the cost for both of these workshops?
For DECA, the cost of the trip is covered entirely through Great Oaks, and the cost for the a cappella trip is covered through their participating fees.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Looks like we have a release request for proposal for aging computers.
Good evening. On the agenda tonight is a request to release RFPs, requests for proposals for upgrading technology in the district. This is a periodic process that we do every year. One of the RFPs will be for student Chromebooks. Every year we purchase student Chromebooks for 1st grade, 5th grade, and 9th grade on a 4-year rotating cycle. We also have some wireless networks within the district that are reaching the end of their useful life, so we want to release the request for proposal to find out what the costs might be to replace those. This is not like pursuing the decision to purchase, just simply to be able to request those proposals and get some competitive responses.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 7.07 is the request for approval of donations as presented. I'll read them. All Days donated 10 $20 gift cards to Merwin Elementary. Xavier Women's Basketball donated $350 for busing to Xavier's Women's Basketball Education Day at Willowville Elementary. Bill Moles and Mom's Food Pantry donated gifts and food for 40 students in need during the holidays at Summerside. Union Township Police Department donated gifts for 2 students for the Shop with a Cop to Summerside Elementary. Summerside First Church of God donated gifts for 2 students in need during the holidays to Summerside Elementary. Bill Moles and Mom's Food Pantry donated gifts and pizza to Summerside for students in the special education units. Summerside PTO donated dairy products for food baskets for families in need during the holidays at Summerside. Clough Pike United Methodist Church donated gifts for 4 students in need during the holidays to Summerside Elementary. St. Veronica donated toys and clothes for 58 students in need during the holidays at Summerside Elementary. And Debbie Wallace donated 6 used coats to Merwin Elementary for students in need. Those, the request to approve those donations as presented.
Thank you. Hey, Dan.
Yes.
Jump back up to 7:05 and 7:06.
I'm sorry, the minutes, I turned the page.
Minutes.
So 7.05 is the approval of minutes. The request is for the January 11th, 2025 organizational meeting. And 7.06 is the request for approval of minutes for the January 13th, 2025 regular business meeting. Thank you. And then item 7.08 is a request for authorization for the superintendent and treasurer to negotiate and execute contracts as presented. And this first one is for the OSBA board handbook that was discussed. And the second one is for Paradigm. And that is it. So the consent agenda is item 7.01 through 7.08.
Thank you. You've heard the recommendation. Would someone like to make a motion? Thank you, Mr. Rudy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms.
Mrs. Sanborn?
Ms. Spencer.
Mrs. Spencer.
Ms. Spencer, thank you. Is there any discussion? Any discussion?
Oh, we talked about doing the handbook. The OSBA is going to help us do the handbook. I wrote a little bleep about it, but it's going to help us kind of collectively get our stuff together a little bit better and help us. It's going to go over a lot of the policy that our school board has to approve, and we've already talked to the OSBA, and they have a plethora of resources that we use on a regular basis. So I think it's a great resource, and I think that our board would benefit from moving forward and having that with us all the time. We've never had one, so I think it's a good idea to have one.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Patton?
Yes.
Mr. Chumley?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanborn?
Yes.
5 yes.
Good evening. We have our first reading for our policies. As we talked before, we were going to have a lot that was going to come through in January, and we're not to disappoint because we have a lot to go through, and I'm going to go through quickly. We did have a policy committee meeting prior to this. I'll continually update the board with the specifics as far as the revisions, the new policies, and the adjustments that we do make, and you'll have the full version, 78-page version, that you will be able to review as well. First thing that we'll be presenting a resolution to the board at our next meeting in February, and this basically is a resolution for the Board of Education to adopt special education models and policies and procedures considered model policies that were released by the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce in December of '24. This is something that we have to put into place before March 30th, and this will take place in February, so you will get to see that. We had an update early January. There were 2 policies that had to be revised from the policies that we adopted in December. And so these are some of the things that are going to be happening as we continually move forward. So we had policy 5136 along with policy 6460. They were policies that we had already established in December, and there were some language adjustments that we had to put into place for that. So those were updated, and you will see those as well. The new bylaws and policies that came out, as I told you at the end of January, was an extensive list, and I'll go through those very quickly so you can just see what has happened as far as what we need to do. The first bylaw was 0131.1, was the technical corrections. This is a revised bylaw that should be adopted by the board that wishes to streamline the technical correction process. And so once we put that bylaw in, that will then rescind bylaw 0171, which was the old bylaw that would address technical corrections. So that one will be rescinded. As we move forward, policy 1422.01 has been added with provisions regarding drug-free workplace for administrators that pertain to other district employees as well. So that is a new policy that will be put in. Policy 2271 is College Credit Plus program. That policy was revised that will include the provisions of Senate Bill 104. That will be effective February 25th. So the provisions have been put into place, and the majority of that dates were added as well. Policy 2340, field and other district-sponsored events. This policy was revised to include overnight accommodations and restrictions required by Senate Bill 104. Policy 2430.02, participation of community and STEM school students in extracurricular activities. That was language revisions. Policy 2431, interscholastic athletics. Policy 2431 is revised to include provisions of House Bill 47. Policy 2460, special education. This is the Ohio Department of Education Workforce recently released updated special education model policies, which goes back to the resolution that I talked about before, which will then coincide with that. Policy 2460 will be then rescinded because of the new policy that we just added before that. Policy 5113, interdistrict open enrollment. Again, these are revisions to policies and updated language that coincide with the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce according to Senate Bill 208. Policy 5120, assignment within the district. Again, more revisions and updated language that coincide with the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce. Policy 5131, transfer of students. This is a policy and correction is provided as a revision suggested in volume 43, number 1 that we did in October. Again, these are provisions of House Bill 147. Policy 5223, release time for religious instruction. This coincides with House Bill 8. Policy 5330, use of medications. We were ahead of the game on this and had already done this, but this is the provisions that were in House Bill 70, and that need to be effective by March 20th of this year, and we had already done that in previous board policy updates. Policy 5350, student health, well-being, and suicide prevention. This is in correlation with House Bill 33. Policy 5460, graduation requirements. Again, this is additional diploma seals that have been identified by the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce. And then obviously this needs to be put into place as well. Policy 5610, removal, suspension, expulsion, and permanent exclusion of students, goes along with House Bill 206. Policy 5751, parental status of students, reflects the latest legislation on provisions put forth by federal law. Policy 5780.01, Parent Bill of Rights. Policy reflects the provisions of House Bill 8, effective April 9th, 2025. Policy 6151, insufficient funds and checks. Policy has been revised with corresponding administrative guidelines added at the request of clients. Provisions should be considered for adoption. Policy 7421, restrooms, locker rooms, shower rooms, and changing rooms. This is a new policy which reflects the provisions of Senate Bill 104. Policy 7440.01, video surveillance. It's a revised and added authorization for use of smart sensor monitoring technology that could be considered like vape detectors in bathrooms. Policy 8142, criminal history records checked and contracted school service, is a revised policy to meet the requirements of House Bill 33. Policy 8452, automated external defibrillators, AED units. This is goes along with House Bill 47. And Policy 8500, this is food service that will go along with House Bill 8. And that is my short list for you guys to consider. I will continue, I will tell you, I will continually give you updates on this. As we just got these a week ago, actually less than a week ago, we'll continue to work with Neola, and I'll be meeting with Neola hopefully before the next board meeting. But if not, you're going to start seeing some things as we start to develop these different policies and revisions. We'll continue this throughout the year. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, that's just the first reading. He'll be back, and we'll do the second reading at the next meeting in February. So if you have any feedback in between, just let us know. Now, I know at the board retreat, everybody was given a blue handbook by Mr. Romano. This is our kind of our curriculum, I guess, for the next year, 2025, so that we can all become more versed in Ohio school funding. It's not straightforward and simple. There's a lot of nuances, and so we just want to grow in our knowledge with Dan as our #1 teacher here, and bring in resources to you. So if you'll indulge us, tonight we're going to do we'll have some discussion about this, but we will do it through the form of some town hall type activities. So we think making it more interactive and conversational will help you interact with the content and the information and become more and more equipped to share with our community. So we'll have Mrs. Sanborn and Mr. Patton here at this table with some administrators, and the other 3 of you will be at that table. And then we'll come back up before the end of the meeting. So everyone, take your spots. You don't need the book. You won't have to cheat. It'll be fine. No, I think I need to cheat. I was going to. It's okay. Yeah, we'll come back up here because I think for the statement of facts, we want to be looking at our computers. Yeah, you want to sit on the front side of it.
This is a good group. I can tell already.
Yes, we're the star students
Yeah.
on our table. That's the same thing as that table over there.
This is the accelerated group.
Larry's doing. Oh, Larry's. Sorry.
So let me do a little bit of a setup for this first, okay? So the superintendent Adams said we're going to go over a couple things, and I don't know if we'll hit all 5 of these bullet points we talked about, but financing our future, Matt, when things kind of go around and come around, the original core of this tabletop exercise was done in 2001, and one of the superintendents that participated with a group called Council for Academic Excellence, I think back then, was Superintendent Michael Ward, who was part of that group. To do it. So although the learning exercise is 25 years old now, when you think about school finance, some of it has not really changed that much, except some different rules added on as we go forward with things. So what I'm going to do is quit talking now. So Larry and Ellie are going to kind of be our table facilitators and hand things out as we go forward. Really, what you're going to be talking about are four things. One, who's our stakeholders? Okay, there's a question with that. Two, where do we get our money? What's our sources of revenue? What kind of drives that? Three, how do we spend our money? Okay, and as part of that, what happens when our revenues may not be sufficient to cover our expenses? What kind of decisions do we need to make? Okay, and how does that impact us going forward? Okay, so I'll let Ellie and Larry go ahead and take over. They're going to kind of read the script to you and then have some exercises for us to do. Now I'm going to jump in between the two tables as we go forward, and hopefully both of them won't mind what I do that. No, that's actually very
Okay,
well.
so the first thing, we're gonna all stand up here and just kind of get a lay of the land, or what things do you, when you're just looking at the map, what sorts of things do you notice, what stands out to you, or just like shout out what sorts of things that you see. So, sources of where it's coming from, yeah. And actually, like, across here, yeah, so it's like pupil support, staff, administration, instructions, yeah, so like, different kinds of ways we spend our money. And there's one over here, like building, transportation, like operational kind of support.
We need to downsize plus a little.
Yeah, what else? All of the supports.
So, yeah, there are, yep. Yeah, the sports and.
It's a busy place. There's lots of different pieces kind of that go into our
Yes,
school.
a lot of the different sports. So, so what we see is some of our stakeholders, we see our revenue sources, right? We see the spend our money. So, why don't we look at this one?
No, there's no like mono, yeah. There's a small little Natasha somewhere you gotta find her in the map here. She's driving one of the cars.
Exactly, this is our board meeting.
She's right here. She's right here. Here she
That's
is.
her. What did you notice, Natasha?
This is a school board meeting, but people having a lot of opinions about how things should go. That's what all the talking is.
So, when we look at those stakeholder lists, what do you think each of them
Well, I like to see a
contributes
lot of the
to
partnerships,
public
so like
schools?
universities.
And what do you think they expect
Education
from
beyond
the
school,
contribution?
government, military,
in reality, students and
It's a regulation, yeah.
gone married and moved out of state, and they're maybe not so willing to.
So when we think about
Okay.
when we think about their ability to pay, and then
I think when you look at this from the global view, this is a community.
well, any of the
And
governments.
so as part of that community, I think all stakeholders have a responsibility
Okay.
within a community
You don't feel like you're as willing as they are.
whether you're.
But doesn't everybody feel that way? Doesn't everybody feel that way about
Because
something
that
else?
is your
Well,
community.
like
So
you
all
make way more than I do, you should
And
pay
all
more.
these winds of
And
change,
then,
they
I think that's
they
the mentality.
play into and they engage community members, which all stakeholders know. So I don't think anybody can really take it back.
Let's say.
In a productive.
That mentality is like a wealth factor. Right? People have a greater wealth. They have a greater ability. Whether it's right or wrong, that's kind of a concept of
And then it goes back to the question of what is that we expect of you? We have the greater wealth, greater ability, do we have the same level of awareness that they have?
Experiences that we want them to have and practice. So think about their developing our portfolios and their purpose. That was based on all the stakeholders that expand beyond just the academics.
Dan knows just how.
One more thing on the community.
Sworn in 2011.
Someone in the past, before that,
what happened before that?
made decisions.
Why didn't they change their ability?
That's a stepping stone. So now it's incumbent upon us, and we can move now and make a decision. The next 20, 30. It's a growth thing over a long period of time.
But it's not the percentage.
Okay, so we're gonna like shift gears a little bit. Dan, we're ready to move on to sources of revenue. Are you all?
That's
ready?
where we're heading right now.
Okay, great,
Yep.
perfect.
Okay. So-
Is that the honors group?
We're over the 8
You're 8 seconds ahead of us. So,
Okay,
so then,
we,
okay, we can
when
look
we were like
at sources of revenue.
getting a lay of the
right?
land,
So,
I think it was Brian
we know
noticed,
that
one of you noticed, that over here along this side are the various ways that the revenue sources of our district. So we have local dollars, state dollars, federal dollars, and then other sources of dollars. So we're going to do a little activity to help us learn a little bit more about the various ways that our district receives funds. So we're gonna do a little like card shuffling game here, and I'm gonna ask you to read your card and then place your card in the appropriate along the district. So it should say on there if it's other or federal or state or local. So we'll have Natasha go first and read a card.
Local taxes, 1 of 2. This is property tax. Local funds are collected primarily for property taxes by local governments on real property. Residential, commercial, and industrial properties. Property tax rates are primarily developed by.
How would you summarize that? I'm gonna put it over here.
Property taxes that we think this is about residential, commercial, industrial property.
Okay, so one of our sources of local dollars is related to property taxes on various.
That's roughly a third of the districts in Ohio have income tax. So we represent local funds are represented through
Some school districts put taxes on income of those residing within the district. It must be more than 0.25%, must be approved by the group. Must be taxes to be calculated on the Ohio Adjustment Gross Income or Earned Income 212. School districts have an income tax of
Fund students,
212. School districts have an income tax as of January 2020.
That's about a third of the school districts.
teacher ratio, staffing level, and actual costs.
State funds, 1 of 3, there's the funding for the amount of state money the district receives. That was first implemented in FY
we look at those, do you think that it would be the district where our funds come from?
I personally, my opinion, believe that's general purpose.
Does it matter to the district where it comes from?
No. I don't think it really matters as long as the money is coming in and you're
I think it matters
area
when you want to.
that you need funds for
I guess
in
in a
order to
sense.
run the school.
When you look at the state,
I think a lot of times people want the money to come locally, so that there's
So
local,
what's that mean?
like more
Special.
from federal, they tell you how it's gonna be,
There's
the
always
state tells
strings
you how it's gonna be, local.
Requirements.
And it is true, like as a person who oversees our federal funds, like it is very specific. You don't have wide discretion at all as it relates to how.
Okay, so let's look at the percentage of funds that come from each of the sources for the various categories of school districts. So let's go ahead and.
So those are not necessarily the same as what your district needs. It does like.
So Larry's gonna push those out. So there are kind of 6 categories that we looked at. Suburban, urban, and rural. And then we'll do those 3 first, but there's also some areas.
Very few, yes.
So if you look at the grid.
Even down to like individual.
Yeah, if you look at each category, these are the percentages that align with the categories. Okay. So if you were to try to judge which of these represent.
Okay, so now what we're going to look at, we're
Breakdown
going
of
to
the rural
start
breakdown, how would you
our
say this would be?
template that we're going to be working to complete here. We're going to look at
Federal.
the
So out of
percentage of
urban,
funds
suburban,
that
or
come
rural,
from
who do you
each of
say
these revenue
So
sources.
those 3 boxes are the same as those
Yes,
boxes.
so it's local taxes, state taxes, federal, and other federal.
No, you're good.
Across urban districts, suburban districts, and rural. So we're going to start with thinking about this type of school district, these local funds, looking at the percentage of funds that fall into each of those categories. That's going to be. So, here are the 3, in no particular order, I could like shuffle them up, time it back and place them out here. So your job is to think about how do you see these things lining up between an urban district, a suburban district, and a rural district? And then the various percentages of funds, the revenue sources from each of these 4 types. How would you like to?
We have a revenue distribution grid.
How would you?
Because I think in the suburban areas, it's probably a little bit more wealthier individuals.
That's right, that's
Rural
right.
America is usually more.
Okay, so you feel, you wanna go to the next group? Yeah, I know, I didn't know if you wanted me to do that first, or if you wanted to do these next. Okay, so how surprised would you be to find out?
So who's got the answer?
I have the answer. Yes, and that is correct.
They're very close.
So what?
They're very
so-
close. So you did a really good job. Now, what do you think was Clermont?
So the question is, like, why do you think that distribution is? Why do you think that distribution is? So what this is essentially saying is the suburban districts, 60% of their revenue as a district comes from local taxes. 24% comes from state funding sources, 7% from federal, and 9% from other sources. Compared to urban districts where only 30% come from local taxes, and rural where 33% come from local taxes. Why do you think that is?
I think the rule is like being out in Georgetown, Grant County, Adams County, way out there. They don't have as many businesses and resources that a suburban area would have, or an urban area.
So therefore, their local share.
Yeah, usually one of us in the rural areas, we are.
So you're saying the state's paying more because they.
Yeah, see, that number's so much higher. And then I was just looking at, and then if you look at the local numbers, based on ability to pay, the urban areas, a lot of those 100 spaces, 10%. Here, it's much, but here they're saying
what about these state funding parts?
So where do you think, how would you categorize that?
Funding formula,
Where are
how that was determined,
the
how
funny thing is,
at the state
you have
level, they're trying to dictate,
areas like this in
we're determining what percentage they would fund
We are mixed.
versus what percent would come from local funding sources.
Okay, so let's
So
look
part
at
of what it's
revenue
saying
distribution for West
is
Clermont schools, the
that,
state average, and other
it
like districts.
equalizes funding, providing additional money to districts that do not have capacity and wealth to raise revenues locally. So the state is making an assumption that in suburban districts, there is a greater, they have a greater capacity and higher levels of wealth to provide higher percentage of the revenue than other districts. So now we're gonna like
Okay, so
think
go ahead
about,
and lay those where you think those.
yes, now we're gonna think about how does West
When it
Clermont,
comes to West Clermont.
Before you even get, what do you think West Clermont is, urban, suburban, or rural?
Versus similar districts versus the state.
we're gonna describe a category.
Which category are we in? I think we're more suburban.
Anybody? And why do you think that it plays out that way? That actually.
Yeah, but we're like, urban, are we suburban, are we rural?
Do you think similar districts are paying
So it's hard to answer, because.
supported more?
A little bit of each. Yeah, I mean, I think we're a
Well,
little
they
bit.
use a lot of criteria to determine what a similar district is. A lot of it's enrollment
So now
size, a
what we're
lot of
gonna
it's
try to do
demographic,
is figure out
income,
how
skill
West
levels,
Clermont's
similar income levels. I mean,
percentages
they have their criteria if they're running an algorithm.
what districts that are
But some of
similar
these
to
similar
West
districts
Clermont,
might
what
be
those
in the
percentages
Northwest
look like,
corner of the state.
and then what the state average is
Somewhere far
in terms of
Similar
their revenue sources.
Similar in
So,
area.
about what do you think? West Clermont,
It's considered something.
You can get that information off the state of Ohio's website.
Yeah, you absolutely can. I generally would use that technological data. So,
Federal's not pulling away yet.
okay, so if we look at the revenue description part for the state funds.
Very good.
Very full funding formula.
Okay,
It has an
so,
inverse relationship to local
are
level,
you surprised by
right?
this?
Where wealthier districts receive less and median districts receive the most, right? So what impact does that inverse relationship have for our school district?
I'm not surprised.
When you look at the fair school funding, the state formula, right? How does the inverse relationship?
Well, and I'm gonna read.
Well, the state funding impact us.
Does me too. But it's low or high.
When you look at those
That's
percentages.
only 10%, so it's very low.
Two things on that. Think about
Well, we have to pay
think
out.
about diversity, poverty.
At least 50%.
Whether they're right or wrong. Right.
But also,
So like when they gave us COVID money, for example,
Yeah,
it's based on
they're
those demographics.
appear to be
So
saying that
that
they're
whole
healthy enough to handle more care, they'll handle more than
City
they.
of Cincinnati was like 124.
Again, whether they're right or wrong.
Yeah, but they're spread out larger, I know, they're larger, but I mean, are they
So-
14 million to 124 million
Yeah.
dollars larger?
Let me just
I don't know, but it's how
No,
math works.
okay, so, fair school funding, formula is an annual calculation. When the result of the calculation is not greater than what the district received in 2021, the state provides a guarantee, so the district does not receive less.
So the seven, so
Formula
it
doesn't
shows
say
our
you should get more, we get at
demographic.
least what we got in 2020.
a higher percentage of kids in this general area.
West Clermont is a guaranteed district whose level of funding from the state equals the funding level of 2021, which is guaranteed at 2019 levels. So it's really 2019. So what is the impact to a district when the state does not provide them any increase in revenue?
So I'm gonna read a statement that's kind of connected to like what we were
I mean,
talking about.
so expenses are expenses.
So
right?
the
I mean, as
state's
tight as you can make
fair
expenses,
school funding
we still know
has
inflation's
an
driving
inverse
things up.
relationship
For
with
everyone.
wealth, where
Right.
wealthier
So if the state's
districts
not doing something
receive
once since
the least,
2019, what does that,
and the
where does that
neediest
leave us?
districts receive the most from the state.
staff support services, and then you have, basically,
Yeah,
it's building.
it's like, the one, yes of this and more of this, less of this. So what is the impact of that
One, two, three,
inverse
four, five
relationship where
expenses.
the wealthier you are, the less money you get from the state? What's that, the impact of that
So,
on a district
look
like
at
ours?
operations, that's building, transportation.
Wealthier people that you have in a district, that's what
Well, so you got, yeah, this is administrative,
Gary's talking about,
instructional
they don't
services.
have as much money.
Are we talking about?
The wealthier person has more money, they save.
Yeah, instructional services is gonna be teachers.
Oh, that money that they have, they can be able to afford to pay for their taxes.
You got
When the
administrator.
state looks at us, they are saying West Clermont is a wealthy
Building
school
is like a
district.
mom, right? I mean, they us as well as schools.
Well, the building over here is all our operations, that's our busing, our technology, our utility
The
bills.
reality is that's not how the state looks at
And
us.
supporting buildings.
And again, if you compare,
Yes, all
the
the
state
repairs
sees
of
us
buildings.
more like a suburban district and less like a rural and urban district.
Okay.
Where
we're
urban
looking
and
at-
rural districts
we
have
have
30 or
human support
32%
services
of
at
their
6%,
entire revenue comes
administration
from
at
local share, comes from property or
We
income
have
tax.
instructional services at 57, staff support services at 3, and
Because
operations
the
at
state
20.
believes that as a
Why do we lay
community,
this out this way?
we have a greater ability to fund our revenue sources from local share, from
Okay.
property taxes,
That's
from
really good
income
sense.
sources.
And that includes
Than others.
You want more local control in the state and federal legislature. The top number is the better off the school district is, right?
It
So,
is from like
interestingly
that
enough-
control part, it's just, it depends on, does the community agree with that investment? Because the state's saying we expect you to pay more.
You hit
Back
that
to the
right.
stakeholders and their willingness to fund.
That is the way that this is broken. So, are you surprised or do you, is anybody surprised that somebody was like that? This makes sense to everybody, it's normal, it's proper, correct?
We just went to how many policies? What drove those policies? What drove those policies?
State and federal law.
So you missed your point?
It is some of those things, yes.
Accurate, but may not be real.
I think our approach. We need to raise this, we need to raise this. I think our approach would have a moral pressure. I think I definitely feel like it's fair.
These are state average.
Even though we're saying we're like.
That's correct.
Our number isn't necessarily.
Using all of our numbers is a lot.
Exactly.
So that whole expectation that was Clermont's.
Okay, so,
More than that? Above the state average?
State average is 3. We're gonna come up with our, right?
So we're gonna like dig a little
so,
deeper
so
into
the state average
funding
is calculated
and
for
the
606
Fair School
different
formula
school districts.
itself.
Okay,
So
and
I'm
the
just
state
gonna
average
read this to make
expense
sure I'm saying.
per pupil is 16.
So the state's fair school funding
Across the
formula,
state, that's the
it's a
average
calculation that is
by
made.
districts per student.
When the result of the calculation is not greater
Yeah.
than what the district
You read the
received
book.
in
Yeah,
2021,
that's, I think,
then the state
Michael's
provides a guaranteed dollar amount so that the district does not receive less than it did
Okay,
in
here we go.
2021. West Clermont is a district that is
Oh, I should have, I didn't even see that there.
a guaranteed amount.
I would have covered it up.
Level of funding from the state
I remember high
equals
school.
the funding that we
So,
received in
we got that.
2021.
Hang on, I gotta hide it.
So essentially, because we're
That
a
is that,
district,
right there.
we are
So now
only receive
these-
from the state the amount that was guaranteed in the
Somebody else play.
2019.
I don't know if it's Stanley or
Because that's how the funds and formula works.
Michael reads ahead. Okay. So as we look at urban, suburban, rural, and then West Clermont similar districts, how do we think that these five would play out?
So we're right now, we're guaranteed, no matter how many kids walk through our door.
Pupil support, and here you can see what these categories include.
COVID.
Okay, so,
And clearly things
when you
cost
look at
more
this, the
in the
total
year
cost per
twenty
pupil
twenty-five
varies,
than they
and
did in
therefore the dollars spent in each category varies.
What does it look like for a
So as you
district to
look
have
at
to
those, how do you feel
cover
like they
those
align
increased
with,
costs
where do you think
when the state
the-
level is not
the
increasing?
breakdown is, which do you think is, would show the breakdown for, say, an urban district? Let's just look at, yeah, but let's look at the total amount, so if that's what you, if that's how you feel, when we look at urban, the total amount spent per pupil, urban, suburban, rural, West Clermont, WC, how do you think those should play out?
What are we at? What are we at to cover inflation if we don't get any more money from the state?
I can't buy my house the way I ran in 2018 individually, but I can't go to the grocery store yesterday.
Okay, we're saying urban spends the most.
I'm sorry, what was your question? I mean, I can't go into the grocery store.
Somebody
This
has to
formula to
explain my
for growing districts if we can.
I love it, you're on the guarantee or not, you're on the guarantee. Yeah, it does hurt us because we grow and the dollars don't. If you're on the formula.
Okay, do you feel like suburban districts spend less per pupil? Some of them are very close, there's no question.
So the formula has a lot of components, but two of the major components are enrollment.
Okay.
And the other one is
So-
valuation and local wealth.
This is correct.
Income. So if we grow more on enrollment, okay, if our valuation and average income stays flat, then we're getting closer.
Well, you did say that.
And then this is correct.
For the valuation of last year,
That's correct.
pretty much secured that we're gonna be,
So as we
on
look at it,
the only guarantee.
So that valuation, even though it brought in additional revenue.
when you look at that, what conclusions can you draw from what you see?
People weren't able to pay according to the state, so it says they want to get less.
Pre-guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yes, so we spend less, we see less revenue, spend less per pupil than the other categories.
So as time goes on,
What are we seeing
if you're under the guarantee,
in,
And then before, West Claremont, before that.
just
when
in,
you're on the guarantee?
go ahead.
Were we more?
I think probably.
So, yes, we know the similar districts are also lower than the average.
Yeah, it was just a different guarantee, it was not the guarantee.
So the formulas were all different.
But it's still substantially more than
There's been about a 10%,
So,
10% shift.
if you look at that,
Yeah.
Since
So
I've been.
if that revenue stayed
and
flat,
you think about a
and
classroom,
the local's growing, then
let's just make
percentage-wise, right?
25 kids.
The state share is gonna go down, local's gonna go
We've
up.
got an $1,800 per pupil difference across 25 kids.
Okay.
That's
We ready to move on to our expenses, Dan?
per class. I'm sorry?
Are we ready to move on to
Yeah.
expenses?
We're spending
Okay,
less
great.
than
Alright,
similar
so,
districts. And if
To
you look
review,
at any of
this
the other
was
state
sources of
averages,
revenue, so
considerably less
how the
than what some of
district
us think about.
receives money. So now we're gonna look at our
That's
expenses, how
$150,000
we spend. Okay?
$6,000.
So, we have some.
Between urban and what we got. Now, just in
expense
suburban, we're
category
still
cards
considerably
here.
more. It's almost $3,000 per student. which makes
So
that
along
about
the top here, there are various
Every
categories
year.
of how we spend our money. So Natasha, if you want to read our first one.
Minus pupil support services, which are people like counselors, health and social services, extracurriculars.
We work with
Well, if you look,
Looking at this. Instruction, teachers, classroom maintenance, textbooks and supplies.
This doesn't
technology,
what really.
Staff support, professional development.
it doesn't include performance. No, we go back and relate it to that chart. And you look at
Operations,
federal,
all building and grounds,
percentage
food
of
service,
federal money is
transportation,
important to
and
those places
technology.
because
Anything about that?
programs,
Nothing else.
you know.
So anything stand out, any questions, things that you're wondering about? I will say that Dan has said that, all of this is driven by how expenses are coded within like the financial services.
Right.
So there are like standardized ways that things are supposed to be reported. There is always like variation
Right.
in districts sometimes and how
So
they
is
code
anybody
things. So
surprised
it's not
by
like a
the way that this is laid out?
Well, and sometimes when you're looking at charts, you'll see,
The way that that plays out, those numbers play out, surprise you in any way?
whereas ours is not. So you see it in the
Not anymore.
pie charts. So you're comparing.
It's private. For folks that haven't seen the plans before, I assume that you haven't seen the plans before. What does this say? Does this try to get all the students?
Okay, so now we have, our state average expense.
It was surprising to me when I first saw it, and I saw similar
So
numbers,
these
not
cards
these numbers, but I
represent
saw
the
similar
state
numbers.
average dollar amount spent and percent of the total.
It was
in these
8,900.
five categories. Okay, so across the state average, both in terms of the dollar amount and the percent of the total for each of these five categories. So your job is to,
Not that the pressure's on because we ain't got it done.
your job is to figure out. Your job is to figure out in each of these categories what the state average spent. Starting like,
The total per pupil is.
Yeah, financially, we're still.
Similar districts are urban.
And the state average is calculated. So this is different. This also.
these just go together. So this is information, the total per pupil at the state average is 16,311, and that state average is calculated for the 660. So state hours per pupil, state average per pupil is 16,311. So of these five, per pupil support, staff, administration, instructional services, staff support, and operations, what do you believe the state average from a percent of dollar amount is for each of those? I'm gonna try to figure out where you think the state
This
average.
is a graph that shows change in spending over the last, looks like 14 plus years, 15 plus years, from FY 10 to FY 24. And you'll notice that for a stretch, a fair stretch of staff,
Why would you put it?
the expenditures per pupil actually was driving that for several years, from 2011 through just about 2017.
Transportation technology, like that's an expense, that's the expense of the
And then you
citizens.
have increases in funding.
New fund also disability. 3%.
The rest has been at a definite increase, but not at the rate that the student, per pupil student spending has. Ramp per pupil student line, or per pupil spending line, shows where we put the additional money that we received over the last 4 or 5 years. That has gone directly to supporting students in the classroom,
Okay, it's not. Do you want me to tell you how many you need to change?
Let's see, if you could change any which one.
Right, exactly right.
If you could change one, which one do you think should change?
Then the question becomes,
Yes, which, you think it should be switched
where
with?
do we make up the difference?
Yeah.
And what, I gotta say.
Wrong.
Let's give it to him.
Okay.
It's hard.
Sorry.
High school, you know, the entire district has raised, its performance by
So we got that right, we're good with that. Maybe switch it.
great moves.
Okay, so does any of that surprise you?
Where
Right, that has something in. Okay, so why were you thinking that?
do we make up that difference?
My opinion is I felt like we were wondering, that's one of the taxpayers wonders.
Well, you
percentage and the dollar amount, and it's important to look at both of those. Because depending on how large your budget is, the percentage could look one way, but the actual dollar amount is something else.
So that top number you're looking at would be how much money is spent per education. That's what that top number is. Be prepared and then you go. So, I think that's right here.
Beyond that, and if we're at financial difficulties,
Why is that price there?
Because it's a suburban district, it's middle of the road.
I don't think that's ever going to be.
And remember, this top dollar is equal to the per pupil amount. And so it's kind of like this, sort of, where then this is administration, that's instruction.
Well, this is part of the, we're not at the state level for transportation.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, this is.
Well, and yeah, you're right, it's even worse than.
You don't need to state average.
Sorry. I feel like that.
My bad.
So.
Yeah, when I look at these numbers, then I start thinking, is there a lot, I feel like we're gonna find a lot of variable information that we can make adjustments, I'm gonna say in a very nice way, without feeling some real pain. Experience, but feeling some real pain. When the
Which of those?
teachers understand numbers, impacting our tuition rate, our mental health.
I think we're there, and I think this one is here.
No. Not too far off.
Several, right?
Yeah, not too far off.
So,
You have our.
we got a couple questions here, then.
Correct.
Yeah.
Um,
They have similar, right, too, don't they?
So overtime, school budget, fall situation, increased revenue, as the student responsible for managing school budget.
So
So,
these three are right.
you're right.
Those three are.
Switching the opposite then?
Here, at least we got that.
Yeah.
As we just discussed,
Yeah,
schools
that's
receive a
correct.
substantial
Yeah.
part of their funding from local sources.
So
What's driving that taxes are residential, agricultural, commercial, and industrial property.
Not much infrastructure out there, no economic development, not a lot.
Sunshine districts.
What drove it on the revenue side?
If districts did not rely on local funds.
State and
local
federal.
taxes are all strictly funded.
State and federal.
Federal gives us dollars and tells us.
Like they did with the stadium, didn't they?
So what else do you notice when you,
School board would say that
when you look at both of the percentages, but not even the percentages,
I'll
the
give you 4
actual
years of
dollar
half the
amount.
check if you want. I mean,
About how many
you're not
students
allowed
we
to
have.
solicit and ask for donations.
Well, I thought it was 8,500.
So let's just say 8,000 roughly. Yeah, exactly. So let's say 8,000 students. When you look at the state average per pupil amount, 2,311. When you look at West Clermont's per pupil amount, 13,613. You're doing quick math, what's the difference?
3,000.
Just say 3,000 times 8,000 students. What's the math on that?
Who wants to do that?
$2.4 billion. So almost, so about $2.5 billion. Oh, 20, okay. Eric, can I make sure? So 24 million, even more significant, right? 1.4 billion less per year for that West Clermont.
But that was all part of the
per pupil compared to
So,
the state
but I mean.
We do have naming rights, we do have
$3,000 per
ability to do
kid.
Some things
the percentages of West Clermont compared to the state or compared just to another category? Right. Ding, ding, ding. That is the sentence. You went correct,
So,
yeah.
so that we don't fall behind that.
Our percentages really are going
But assume there were no sources of revenue, so we had this
over a
conversation.
dollar now.
Let's think it forward. Assume there were no sources of revenue.
And that's every year.
You're not gonna get public funding.
So then we talk about
Again,
overspending
assume
on
we're trying to cut it
necessities.
5%.
You're spending at the bottom,
Which is
or
half
bottom
of
on
what you
necessities.
cut.
Because there's not really room for, lots of extras. You're focused on core operational.
All 5% of that come up one.
No, no. However you think.
One each, go across the board, one.
One each.
There you go. Problem solved.
That's not gonna.
That may work.
So this is the West Clermont per pupil expense category. This is like fiscal year 10 through fiscal year 24. And this graph provides the dollars at the per pupil dollars for each year between fiscal year 10
That would be a 57.
14 years worth of per pupil expenses across the various expense
That would
categories.
be part of, yeah, that would be part of
So,
the structure.
as a group, like, take and describe to us over time, where has West Clermont been spending its dollars?
You can spend the same amount of money per employee or from the employee, and the benefits can be the same or better.
Oh. Yeah, that's instructional.
My employer has over 2,000 people, we're self-funded, and I think they saved over 20%.
Orange is operations. The dark blue is administration. Gold is people support services. The lighter.
That should be appropriate through an insurance carrier, right?
Yes, it is, but it's negotiable.
When you look at, yeah, so when you see the change over time, where is the greatest change been?
Where's the dollar? The percentages are about.
I don't know how much money
Where's the $100?
other people want.
Construction, just more construction. Because when Dr. Klein was here, it was only almost 5,000.
Like it, let's go.
Now Natasha's here, and it's almost 148,000.
And that's something
When you see
So
that
you
rise.
see, so for me, since I was here before, I see the rise of it's costing more than it was back when he was here in
But yes, one of the things, that's.
You can fund yourself and not have to be part of the
Instruction.
Right.
Yeah, I
Go through custom design benefits.
So the question is,
Well, you use
do
custom
you,
design
in your
benefits
opinion,
now, so I
do you
can be
believe
more
that
part of
how
that.
West Clermont has spent its dollars has impacted or has impacted student performance?
Usually the contract states something that has to be equal to or similar to something. And carriers can change as long as it's equal or better.
On their Chromebook, their iPad, their laptop, whatever.
Every 3-year contract.
And they lost a lot of person-to-person interaction with students and teachers.
Well,
Where it's just on the computer screen, they solve, they're all together, they solve students.
Everybody.
I think that's a great way.
So we cut 5% everywhere? Okay, so then, based on whatever cuts you do, what impact would those cuts have on other expenses?
Students, why we're working, we're getting new curriculums, we're updating curriculum.
Yeah, how would it impact other?
School,
So,
back into the kids.
So like the return on that investment.
So when we were here, we were achieving like the bottom quarter of the state. And now that we're investing more, we're achieving the top 40%. So, that's what you think about those, from the bottom quarter to
They're
the top
still,
40.
people still complaining. They don't understand why we don't have
5 years or so.
And I said, it's never coming back, you might as well move along.
Well, I know, but even Dr. Bliss was here, I felt like the curriculum was like the dinosaur age. I mean, we had books from 1980, you know, early
That's the question.
This
Which one?
came on the back of t-shirts, right? We used to get yellow area forward. Now,
We take 5% out of there,
trying to reverse this. Yeah, they're not gonna come to school to make this cleaner.
We've got to change.
But every area has been listed. We're not gonna have a what?
When we actually were, we know we didn't have.
What I'm saying,
Like, we have to illustrate that.
counselors, social services, and extracurricular.
ton more
We have increased.
And what I was saying, like, I used to explain to somebody, like, over here, you could have bought a book. And
You didn't have
that book,
one-on-one conference.
although traditional upgrade would be every 5 years, you could extend it to 6 rather than duct tape that baby, and it'll last maybe even 8. And you could make it here. Right now, all of
Those are things that you look
and
at.
when that
You
account
start cutting those.
is up in 5
then
years,
you
Shut you off.
you know, the name is just, so you're not being able to duct tape something and not make it work. Because you are investing in that electronics. So that's just another factor in how schools.
Construction, firefighters.
But you buy a license that goes away.
Yes.
Operational challenges every day, and how they're helping teach.
And the taxes are heavy for the kids to carry.
So administration, right, we've got central office.
No, I just wanna make the point.
No, I think, yeah, I think that's a good point.
Construction teachers, classroom aides, textbook supplies, classroom environmental staff support, professional development, instructional coaches, librarians, services.
Much worse. And every dollar that we see as a school district spends, they have to be the student appreciality, am I getting what they spend for that dollar?
We're already spending that 2019 money. That was before it has the levy. So that's a lane that's.
Are we ready to make tough decisions?
Okay.
Okay, great.
Now they understand all that. Now they
So, over time, as we can see, a school district's budget falls into a place where your expenses outpace our revenues.
We'll never have had that.
And so, like, yeah, exactly. So let's assume that you are responsible for managing the school's budget. You're gonna be charged with bringing a budget back into balance. What options do we have when considering both revenue sources and expenses?
I don't know the way it goes. I'm money trying to send my computer. A couple of years ago.
Well, we're looking for all the answers. What are the options we have?
Well, I mean, that guy knows our first man, let's put it legally, non-county. You know what it means not to have. You want to keep these programs. What has to be 100%.
So I know the school districts
That's what it is. We have 1,700 more students for 2030.
their staff members.
When do you take that?
Unfortunately, that's the reality of the situation.
Well, when you talk about
are we following the total path compared to,
We're in the top.
We're in the middle, yeah.
and most of the time, were we at the middle or below?
Well, this is the way this exercise is done in town halls. It was done to this.
Compare yourself to JC Penney's and Macy's. I'm in Macy's, I'm only worried about Macy's.
Macy's doesn't compare itself to
The
Boeing.
school district has to survive.
Macy's isn't Boeing.
You know, and everyone
The
sees
school district has to
board
survive.
members.
It's not.
But
It's a different
Fact
thing.
two is that,
Macy's isn't Boeing.
hold on, the fact is too that, he said Macy isn't voting, the fact is that in order for us to also continue with our moving in the right trajectory, or moving in the right direction, in order to get good staff, you have to take care of good staff. I'm in law enforcement, I have plenty of options where I can go to one jurisdiction, and one township, and pays 100% insurance. Like, so, again, those are some of the pros and the cons of getting more of us to keep going.
So what are other options? Yeah, these are tough. It's called making tough decisions. That is the heading of this section. Yes. So one is to look at our expenses, and that's one option if you're trying to balance the budget is to look at your expenses and make some tough decisions. What other options?
You don't run the and we don't mind
So look
part-time.
for ways to increase
Part-time
that.
minds.
Taking options.
All your money's in line. We're a people business.
So that's one option.
A lot of 17%.
Any other options?
We've done a lot. I live here, and my board is way more. Am I proud that we don't care and spend as little as possible? No. I think we should be in the middle. That's not extravagant.
Oh, well, that's a whole different question. I'll drive these empty buses. I'll drive them.
It's a state. There's a reason for it. It should have been.
We have no obligation to provide education. There's no obligation to provide education. It's a state responsibility, which they
So
call
assume we're making an assumption that no sources of revenue,
the state
like
constitution.
spending overhead and
No obligation.
We could have break.
Excuse me, sir. If you want to do the podcast.
You read the book.
Yeah.
minimize the possibility of the district operating safely and securely. Want to leave this, or you want us to teach it out? Okay. We're on our last, we're ready for our outputs. There's our first, let's see, to outputs. Okay. So now we're gonna get to our outputs. We're not doing that. You know the outputs. Well, okay. It's gonna impact.
They have no escape van. Yes, of course. That is, but where you sacrifice down here, you know, we've seen before, when you cut into construction, the results do
Oh, broke. Here.
So it doesn't impact. A lot of times when you're building a picture,
I'm sorry? I'm retiring this year. They're gonna see a universal basic income and subsidized healthcare. As I see.
So the reality is, even if it's not like an instruction expense, they all have that.
As well, I'm sure you wouldn't want to live on that, but you'll get it. It's not subsidized by
Hey, thanks for, playing. Thank you guys. Be like, Vegas, Great. Yeah, you're next.
Yes.
Sound terrible. Yeah. I know, I don't think I want.
Statement of facts?
No, you're gonna talk about the town hall meeting?
Yes, I have all that. Yeah. Yeah, I'll cover everything if you do the board meeting.
What?
The board meeting reminder of when the next one is. Okay, we're gonna get going again up here. Oh. Okay, thank you, Larry. Thank you guys so much for kind of changing normal order of things, just to spend some time talking and looking. Are we good? Okay. Are there any reactions for the whole group? I know you got to speak in your small groups. Any ahas that maybe you didn't have, or maybe something you did know and it just kind of reinforced it even more as you went through this exercise today?
I think more so than anything, just thinking about the options moving forward and thinking about what everyone is, what it could look like for our district. Either way, if it passes, what it would look like, and if it fails, what it would look like.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because you get a sense of like what is, so then we can know, well, if money invested in a bond and in buildings comes, then we know that money goes there, and then we're not looking at that operational budget having to change to take care of, or sorry, the instructional budget having to change to take care of operational things, because we know that operational part would be covered. And so it really, I mean, when you got to that last part of the exercise, like the hard parts, this whole next thing is the hard parts. And I don't know if we're gonna get to scenarios today if it's too long,
I mean,
but.
they're kind of at the end, we may not get to them, but the point you bring up is something that we eventually have to discuss and look at. So part of it is just running different scenarios of what could happen, and based on what could happen, what do we do about it? Okay? And so, Tammy, one of the things you bring up is, if the levy passes or fails, how does that impact our forecast going forward? And there's different options that we need to look at. We know that back in 2020, that it was projected that we would not have to come back before 2024. That was the year that the district expected to come back for additional funding, right? Typically levies, when you do a levy, in an operating levy, it's not only the dollar amount that they forecast, they kind of forecast how long that would last, okay? And because of different events, we were able to push that forward to, we know now that we believe we don't have to come back prior to 2026 for the operating levy to do that, okay? So that's just something that we need to plan on if it passes or fails. Mr. Gephardt, Mr. LaFada, Mr. Parise put together, some cost for technology, for the buildings, for the major portions of those buildings, and they worked with the SHP in gathering those costs, and specifically in the three buildings, that we have. And I think the projection they came up with, and again, that's over the future, right? In the coming years, about $58 million of facility costs that could be borne upon us. When that would happen, we don't know for sure, but we would need to start planning for it. So as part of the scenario planning, how do we build that in to the budget? Because what we do know is that there would be, we would have to repair the roofs, we would have to repair the electrical systems, the plumbing, the HVAC.
And we really know about the roofs after this
Yeah.
snowmageddon of
Yeah.
January that came through and sat on our roofs.
3
and
leaks.
There's buckets aplenty.
We have
around
3
Clermont
leaks in the
right now.
last month or so.
Five
Five?
in middle school right now, one at Berlin, 2 at Hollywood.
So, and so when we look at it, we have the general fund for operating, we have the permanent improvement fund that supports that operating for facilities, but a majority of that permanent improvement fund right now is dedicated to the debt payment for the high school, okay? That decision was made a while back. So, again, do we set aside $2.5 million a year? If we don't have to spend it, what do we do to start preparing for things that may be upon us in the future? How do we look at, what do we do with revenue generation?
And where does that come from?
So the 2.5?
Yes.
So if you take the 58 million and just say, well, okay, we know it's coming. We know those things have been identified. When for sure they will hit, we don't know. But we can't just have zero, in a PI fund to cover that. We have to have some reserve to cover those things that we know are coming.
But I'm
Okay?
saying, where would that come from?
It's gonna come out of the operating, it's gonna come out of the operating fund. We're gonna have to set aside an operating fund, which is the exercise that you guys did. It's exactly what we went through.
So I know, Ryan, you're often sensitive when, to the community thinking that the district is going to then threaten a bunch of stuff when we talk about this. And so that's why these scenarios are built, and why we'll bring them back to the next meeting is, now that you understand the baseline, where our money, where we get our money, where we spend it, and then, okay, how do we make hard decisions? It's a matter of balancing this all out and looking at several different options and kind of choosing which ones you want. It's not about threatening, it's just about being clear that we know going forward, just as a matter of doing business, class sizes may go up in some areas. That if we get really desperate, we'd have to look at part-time kindergarten, if that tends to go out of control. We have to look at teachers on a cart, traveling teachers. We would have to look at things like leasing or finding another place for possible preschool or something like that. We'll have to look at modulars, and so those are the things we're going to have to look at regardless of a success or failure as just part of doing business until we do have a long-term solution. And what could happen is the short-term decisions that we make, which are not really solutions, they're more like Band-Aids, they could become the long-term answers. And so there's going to be costs. Where do we want to, where's the smartest way to invest? And that's what we're going to keep bringing to light. That's why the town hall exercise is so important, so that a broader audience can be wrestling with these same things that we all have to wrestle with. Any other just comments about the exercise, ahas, anything that you want to say as a takeaway?
I mean, the entire exercise was very beneficial to look at where our money comes from and the restrictions that we have to our expenses to, if we have to get down to making tough decisions, how one still affects everything else. So even if you cut from this pocket of money, it's still going to affect. So the whole exercise was very interesting.
There's lots of ripple effects, and Mrs. Sanborn, I'm trying to remember exactly how you said the sentence, but it just kind of said it all. It was like, well, we spend kind of like everybody else does, like in the same ways that everybody else does, but we just do it with a whole lot less.
Right.
And so that's the story of West Clermont. Okay, so what we want to move to now in this section will become a new standard in our meetings for the next several months, and we'll call this section State of Facts, or Statement of Facts rather. And the Statement of Facts is a best practice that is new in levy seasons. This was not something that was a part of our 2020 effort, but something that the auditor of the state has recommended that all school districts do, which is go to their Board of Education with a kind of a board-approved statement of facts. So what we've done tonight is we've included a resolution that is all-encompassing, saying that we are going to bring forward facts. They'll come in various forms, the statement of facts, through our FAQs, through the videos that we produce. All the things that we have will be factually based, approved by the Board of Education. And what we wanted you to take a look at specifically tonight is we have a table of contents. So if you guys could all pull that up now. There are about 13 items on there, and we want you to take a minute to see those topics. So what you'll notice is they are themes from some of our presentations that we've brought to you as we've gotten to this point. You'll see that it reflects a lot of questions you might be hearing when you're out and about in the community. And our goal is just to try to make it all-encompassing, that whatever you're hearing out there gets answered here to the best of our ability. So as you look at those categories, and we did provide kind of a draft version for you in the executive content to look at, to get a sense of like what we mean by each category, if that's confusing. But the hope is to say, do you see categories that if they were better explained, or do you see categories that are missing? That if we had more data in there now, obviously this would make more sense, but is there a category that stands out to you as, oh, I'm hearing questions about this all the time, you need to make a category of X? Or do you feel like this list really does kind of cover it, and if we just flesh this out, you would be comfortable with that, we'd bring it back to you next meeting? Am I clear enough? I know it's kind of rambling.
Well,
Okay.
to bring this to fruition, I've been getting questions and calls, and I'll go ahead and do my board comments now. What is a definition of a bond levy? Bonds are building major renovations and permanent improvements.
Okay.
Some members of the community are asking me, it seems like there's a lot of confusion regarding the bond levy and how the money is strictly to be used for construction only. Yet ones who attend the town halls talks to other people in the community about technology, furniture, safety, and security. Can you clarify this to the community members? Because they don't believe that those 4 areas are a part of the bond.
Okay.
And that they feel that that's a whole different area and should be used in a different manner versus being a part of the bond.
Okay, so the difference between a bond and a levy will be explained inside of this and will cover how bond money can be spent on those lasting investments like furniture, like technology. Okay. All right.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
that's a good one, and I think it is coming up a lot.
Okay.
Any others that you think look missing when you look at this list of things that you're hearing people say that if they just understood a little bit? Because again, we are here to be factual. We aren't here to convince anybody of anything. We are just here to make sure that there's a very clear understanding of what we have to offer, what's at stake, and what the investment will bring.
No, I just want to, I don't know, maybe ask a question about financing considerations. Is that like considering how to finance the bond?
Yeah, you know how we got a lot of feedback from our community about the pressure of all the property taxes, and people were saying, please look at other options. And so
Right.
you guys had us study what would just an income tax look like? What would just property tax look like? And then what would a combination look like? And then we kind of settled on the combination. We would explain that process that we went through and show what that meant. So that everyone would understand why the board came to this conclusion. It's because we were listening and wanting to be responsive to what we were hearing out there.
It might be noteworthy too that the very first draft that we looked at had another building in it, and we were just strictly going to go to the bond levy.
Yeah.
And then when we started talking and things started changing and shifting, the OFCC recommended just replacing the one building for the 2, which is going to save us $10 million at the end of the day.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, And that would be
Put
included in
that
the
in
story
there,
as we
or-
show from the plan development to the CAT recommended to the modified. We would kind of show how we went from all of this to like a more narrowed, tighter scope.
You might want to talk about the CAC team that we had at the very, very beginning
Okay.
of our meetings.
Yes.
And how that they took survey after survey of the staff and other people in the community, and then it evolved, and
Yes, and we will include in there links. Our town hall page covers all the data that the Citizens Advisory Commission plus the Community Advisory Team, all the data that they collected, that they used to help bring recommendations to you, is all out there on our website. So we will link that in here as well. Michael, I felt like you were going to say something.
I think you covered it in the financing consideration.
Oh, okay. So what we've done a heavy lift already in getting a draft together, and you can see that in your executive content so that you can review it and see if there's any more feedback. There's just more data that we're gathering to get the final details on there. And what we'll do is we'll bring it back to you to continue to kind of look at and vote on every meeting, because it'll evolve, as we are getting questions in on info@West Clare. We are answering the individuals who ask those questions, but then we're moving it over to the FAQ page. So if you go to our website today, you can see a banner on there that says bond information. So you click on that, and it takes you to a website that gives the big picture of the bond. It gives the chart that Dan developed so that people can determine how the bond will affect each person individually based on their income, their household, et cetera. And then there are FAQs that you can click on, and then there's a reminder of all the engagement activities that we have planned. And so we'll continue to expand that, and then based on other feedback or other things that you guys bring to us, we'll keep growing this. But this will give you guys a script, it'll give our administrators a script, so we're all kind of saying the same things. And the more people hear things, the more it makes sense. It's a lot of data, a lot of information. You can't just hear it once and it all just makes sense and say, okay, great. So we all need to get command of this information, and this will help you as much as it's going to help us. Okay, so this resolution today just asks that you authorize the preparation and dissemination of one or more statements of fact or similar information in connection with the Board of Education's combined bond issue and earned income tax.
Thank you, Ms.
That's the
Adam.
recommendation.
Thank you. You've heard the recommendation. I will make a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll take it.
Mr. Chumley? Is there any discussion?
Chumley did. He sort of did, yes.
All right.
Is there any other discussion? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Patton?
Yes.
Mr. Chumley?
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn?
yes.
Mrs. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, so as I said, each time we'll keep bringing this back to you. I have several comments, but I will make them brief and quick. First, I want to thank everyone who came to the last town hall in January. We had a great turnout. We had Pizza Hut sponsor it, and thank you to Dr. Ray for continuing to have our partners be a part of it. We'd like everyone to mark their calendars. February 11th is our next one. It'll be very similar to the work that we did tonight. It's at 6 o'clock at Clough Pike Elementary. Between now and February 11th, Mr. Romano and I are making ourselves available. We have time slots on our calendar available that if there's any community group, a PTO, a church group, a Rotary Club, whoever is getting together in the community that would like to learn more about the facts of this bond issue, we'd be happy to be invited to your group and have a few minutes just to share. So we have some groups are reaching out to us already, and we're penciling those in. But if you guys know of anybody that would like us to come, just takes a phone call, and we will work out our schedule. And we will continue that all through this process. February 18th through 21st, it is Love WC Week. As tradition has been, we will have a district-wide Spirit Week. We will have a give-back exercise to our inter-parish ministries. We are collecting cereal, pancakes, syrup, jelly, cans of soup, and mac and cheese. That's what their heavy needs are at this time of year. And when the details come out about it, you'll see there's also kind of a reading challenge that's associated with this. So we're gonna hopefully get some more wolves doing some reading and also give back to our community at this time of year. And then there's a new feature this year that I'm very excited about, and hopefully will create a lot of community buzz and some, the sense of community that we can build. We're gonna have a Dine to Donate event. And so our partner first we'll start with is Big B Coffee on Tuesday the 18th. The Eastgate location will give a portion of their proceeds to West Clermont from all day sales. Dickey's Barbecue on Wednesday the 19th at the Amelia location will also give us a percentage of their sales that day. Then moving on to Thursday the 20th, Chick-fil-A. When you order through the app, there is a select West Clermont schools icon that's going to pop up, and we'll be able to get a percentage of those orders with Chick-fil-A. And City Barbecue on Friday the 21st, using the code GIVE, G-I-V-E, will give a percentage. So hopefully a lot of members of our community will come out with neighborhood friends, sports teams, whatever, and just have some social time where we can get together as a community. So that's the week of February 18th through 21st. And you've already gotten shout-out requests. We are looking to celebrate our staff, our partners. There's been requests on Facebook as well as principal newsletters, and so we're just asking that take this time to just say an extra thank you to the staff who's making a difference in your children's lives. Or anybody who wants to mention a partner as well, we'll take that. So that's a very busy February before we board them back here at our final February board meeting. So I'll have Ryan remind you of that. And that's it for my comments, unless you guys have questions for me or think anything else you need from me. Okay, all right, we'll turn it back to you now.
All right, and my comments will be brief too. First of all, I appreciate the board, the administrators, guests around the table, having that discussion with the data information that was there. To say the least, school finance is kind of complicated, and I know some of the questions that came up regarding the blue book, did this really happen, in 1940, or did this really happen in the past? And those things did happen, and some of those things we're still dealing with today. They haven't changed. Some of them have changed, or other nuances have gone with it. The one thing that I do want to say that may not have been pulled out, but when I look at just my experience with the district over the last almost 5 years, is the momentum that the district has. And that momentum really has to do with what the staff, the people do, what the community does, what the decision this board makes, and then the results that we're getting. And so the biggest, correlation that I can make is when we invest in the right areas, then the results follow that investment. So the performance has been following that, and that has happened. And that's just not with the dollars, but that's people's time and effort as a separate investment in there too, whether they're teachers, support staff, administrators, board members. Someone mentioned community volunteers and parents working with their kids. All those things really come together as an investment. It's not just a dollar, but their time and effort in helping students perform better. And that momentum is there. And I think that's one of the things that may not be pulled out overtly in those discussions, but it does exist, here in this district, and I know we're pretty proud of that as we go forward. And so again, and then thanks to Mrs. Preston and Mr. Parise for the expertise on facilitating, that discussion and having you go through that. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Romano. More comments? Mrs. Spencer?
Thanks again for everybody coming out. I always learn something new about school financing. It's just very puzzling to me, but it's intriguing, and I do feel like we can move forward from this and learning from all of Dan's hard work and the blue book that I'm doing all my homework on. But and I appreciate everybody being out, and hopefully everybody enjoys this beautiful weather that we're having. Hopefully we'll have that for the next couple days, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. But thanks again for coming.
Thank you. Ms. Sanborn?
the blessing boxes that we have in our school district seems to be getting used more and more. And I have filled the Clough Pike box once. And I think it's already gone, most of the stuff that I put in there. So I think that's an area too that we could look at too, is to filling these boxes up because people are really in need of food and other things.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chumley?
Yeah, thank you guys for putting this on for us. It's a great presentation, and I think it'll benefit our community greatly. So thank you guys for putting in the time and energy for it. You guys too. This month is, well, it's not this month anymore. January's already gone. It's crazy. I feel like time flies faster every day. But that doesn't stop us. So I love celebrating our teachers, and I want to thank our teachers from Willowville for coming out and celebrating with us tonight. That's always awesome. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Mr. Rudy?
I agree with all of them. Nothing to add.
Short and sweet. I'll keep mine as brief as I can. Just to echo what Natasha said again, just to reiterate, I love the community involvement. We had some community members tonight. Our next town hall meeting, again, is February the 11th at 6 p.m. at the Clough Pike. Again, everybody show up. It's a very informative display that they did. The next thing is February the 24th at 7 p.m. is our next school board meeting here at the Civic Center. That is all that I have. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Rudy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chumley. No discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mr. Chumley?
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn?
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Patton?
Yes.
5 yes.